as well as Senate Foreign Relations Committee member Robert Portman. And great to see you, Rob Portman. Thanks very much for joining us.
Hey, Maria. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, first tell us about the Senate passing the bill last night and what's in it. Do you think this money can get to small business this week?
Yes, and it must. SBA had to stop all the loans. As you know, there were a lot in process because the money ran out, and it's been almost a week since we've been able to move on this, and it took too long. And frankly, Democrats blocked it knowing that the PPP program was running out. So it's too bad, but I think now because the cap has been lifted, a lot of the applications that were already in the queue are going to be approved, and more people will be able to step forward.
Do you want to see another relief package? I mean, there's a lot of talk. We talked with Congressman Tim Ryan earlier on the program about the states needing more money. So do you want to see another package, even as Mitch McConnell brings up the issue of debt now after all of this stimulus?
Yeah, I think we need to move to a new package after we see how this one works. You know, we've now provided over $3 trillion, as I look at it, of really emergency relief. It's not stimulus yet. The next package ought to focus on municipalities that I think, at least here in Ohio, are having a tough time providing public services, and particularly public safety, fire, police, EMS. And we ought to start talking about stimulus, you know, how to get the economy moving again. And that really is about both the tax side and the infrastructure side. The president's talked about some tax incentives he would like to see. I think that makes sense. I also think some infrastructure spending is appropriate. But as we begin to reopen, it's the time to actually help stimulate the economy, and that's what the next package ought to focus on.
And of course, this has been largely about protecting American jobs. Certainly the paycheck program has been. But President Trump is announcing now that he plans to bar legal immigrants with green cards from entering the country for at least 60 days in an effort to protect American jobs, he said, amid this pandemic. Exceptions, he said, will be made for certain temporary workers with non-immigrant visas, including seasonal farm laborers. Senator, your reaction to this and the president's most recent plans to stop immigration for 60 days?
Well, I'm glad it's temporary because I don't see how that necessarily helps the economy right now, because we do need some of these people who have skills, you know, who are providing help to our economy. But I don't think there's much immigration going on anyway, to be honest with you right now, because things have really slowed down and Customs and Border Protection has a lot of other priorities. But again, the key to me is how do we continue with this rescue package until we start to reopen, which will happen in just the next few weeks in many states. In fact, some states are starting to reopen. Let's do it safely. One thing I liked about this last package, Maria, is that there's money for more testing, because we need the testing not just to reopen safely, but also once we reopen, we don't want to close again. And by having the adequate testing out there to monitor what's going on and to have an immediate reaction should there be a hotspot, because there will be, or to respond to what CDC is now saying might happen in the winter, we need to up our game in terms of the ability to test, to contact trace, and to be able to appropriately stop the spread of the virus if it occurs again. We want to reopen and stay open.
So that's how you do it. You just make sure you have enough testing so you know who's infected and who isn't, and keep those people isolated. Is that what you're saying? That's how you reopen the economy.
If you have a hotspot and if you have a hotspot in a place like a senior living facility, or we talked earlier about the first pitch you threw at Yankee Stadium, if a sports team comes down with a coronavirus issue, which has happened, or a packing plant, as we just saw in the Midwest, you want to be able to respond quickly. You want to be able to provide the testing so we know what's going on, and then figure out who that person has been in contact with, do the contact tracing, do the quarantining to stop it from spreading. That's what we didn't have as it started. We need to have that capability as we reopen to be sure we don't have to go in fits and starts, but rather we can reopen and stay open.
All right, we will leave it there. And thanks for noticing my first pitch right over the plate, Senator. Thank you.
Hey, you and George W. Bush, perfect strikes in the Yankee Stadium. That's awesome. I love it.
That's right. Thank you. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Please stay safe and strong. We'll see you soon. Senator Rob Portman joining us there. Quick break, and then coming up.